All right, we're live in 5, 4, 3. Hey, everybody. Welcome here to today's Automotive Consumer Mastermind Discussion Panel. This is one of 6 different webcast panel programs that we conduct here under the Auto Retail Marketing Webcast Series. We hold them typically on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock, but as you know, today is Thursday, April 16th. So thank you so much for being here. I'm Ryan Girardi, and whether you're here on the live stream, the live webcast, or watching the recording, appreciate you taking the time to be here. If you're watching the recording, I usually within a day or two after this, I put notes in the comments section and make clickable time markers so you can bounce around for different segments of the conversation. Now, today we are we've got 2 segments lined up. I have Lyman Savvy from 321 Ignition and Marco Schnabel from Automotive Mastermind. And we're going to pick up from last month's conversation where we focused on the online tools and information and best practices that dealers needed to be shifting their focus on as this COVID-19 pandemic crisis really started to take a foothold. That was early in March. And a couple good things really came out of that conversation that I wanted to build upon for today's conversation. So let me share my screen here real quick. And there we go. We've got a great panel lined up as well. So I'm going to bring on the panelists in just a moment. But basically, we want to build on this conversation about what I call the COVID, I don't call it, I mean, it's a known term. When you use the idea of the COVID-19 economy, there is this unknown future that we're all headed into. And as a dealer, as an auto retailer, there's just so many uncertainties and unknowns, and things are changing so fast. We don't even know when we're going to be allowed to have people back in the showroom. So while the old showroom thinking has been, get them in the showroom, there's been a progressive camp that has said, why not just give them the information they need online? I have a video coming out. I'm going to play this actually in just a moment of Lyman Savvy talking about the preferences of millennials and Gen Z shoppers. It's a quick 90-second video. Before I do that, the second segment, we'll be looking at some COVID-19 resources for dealerships that are now part of the Automotive Mastermind Resource Center. And Marco, founder and CEO, will be walking us through that. So we'll be looking at that as well. Everything here is recorded, and then we feature it onto the AutoConverse podcast. So if you're not subscribed yet, now's a good time to go search for AutoConverse on your preferred podcast app and do that. It's a whole different experience. It's not just a cut and paste of this webcast. It's a whole different experience. And I usually mash up different sessions because we're kind of all telling a story here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch my audio and play this. Oh, I should mention, if you're on the live stream and you want to get up here and ask questions and participate in the Q&A, look for the link to sign up and get registered. It'll automatically send you a link to get here on the Zoom, and you can do that right away, instantly. You can participate in the Q&A. And for attendees that are here, again, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to raise your hand and ask a question with audio, then just raise your hand. I'll turn your microphone on to ask a question. Otherwise, you can use the Q&A to passively put questions into the queue. All right, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and play this soundbite real quick. Hopefully it comes out good. Well, I'm not hearing anything. Hold on a sec. Why am I not? Let me make sure you guys can hear that. Let's start.
Be an audio channel setting. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to start there. This should work.
Millennials and Gen Zs, they're the most skeptical generation in history. And the reason is because they grew up with the most powerful research tool in the world, which is internet. They like to do their own research. And some of the biggest auto groups that I would talk to here in Washington State, one guy was telling me, he's like, Lyman, I don't want a consumer to be spending too much time on my website. He's like, I want a consumer to walk into my dealership, and then I could sell him a car. The more time they spend on my website, the less likely I am to sell a car. What's interesting is actually that's actually quite the opposite. Omni-channel helps you actually build trust and sell more, not only sell more frequently and to more customers, but also at a higher price point. People who spend time on a web before going into the actual brick and mortar stores, they're not only more likely to buy, so their conversion rate is higher, but they're actually more likely to spend more. And one of the key reasons for that is because the more somebody feels informed, the more confident they feel about their purchase decision. Therefore, the more likely they are to spend more money. You want to feel confident about the purchase decision you're about to make. And so if you could actually empower the consumer to do their research and allow them to do their homework, people who do their homework online, they're more likely to actually buy from you and also spend more with you.
All right, let me switch my audio. Okay, so more informed shoppers spend more and buy more. Panelists, hello and welcome. Great to have you here. We already did our introductions, and for those that are viewing, you can see everybody's names. So Lyman, I'm going to turn to you and let you kind of, take the ball and run with it. Tell us why more informed shoppers spend more and buy more. Why are they better customers?
Well, so this is actually starting from one of the trainings I went through when I worked at Capital One, which is a bank. And I was in charge of actually a product called Share Builder, which is investing in stocks, mutual funds, and ETFs and things like that. And it was a 1 week long training called Leading at a Speed of Trust. And it talked about how the more customers trust you, the more they're informed, the more likely they are to buy from you, the more likely they are to do business with you. People are, if hopefully you have a product that people want, in this case, cars, people are in the market to buy a car. The difference is, do they trust you enough to buy from you? And the more informed they are, the more they're likely to believe what you're saying. So there was a real world experience. I was visiting another dealership, a Honda dealership store here in Washington State. It was an interesting experience. I'm sitting there talking to the owner of the dealership, and there's a customer who walks out very angry and just like, you could tell that he was pretty upset. So I asked the owner, I'm like, why is this customer so upset? And he's like, well, he was trying to buy a car, but he's looking for a ridiculous deal that's just not possible. And he's like, we're trying to give him everything. We tried working with him, but he just still thinks we're trying to take advantage of him. And the other GM, he's like, well, here's an hour I'm never going to get back. What was interesting is everybody in that party was frustrated. The customer was frustrated because he thought that the dealership was trying to take advantage of him. The GM was frustrated because he's like, here's an hour I'm never going to get back. And the owner is frustrated because he didn't sell the car. So, but what really happened is that the consumer wasn't informed. It's like, imagine, for example, you're walking through your neighborhood and you see a house in the market and it says for sale. You look at the price and it might be the best deal ever, but if you're not informed, you're gonna feel uncertain. You'll be like, oh, I don't know, I need to go do more research, I still need to think about it. And even though you might be actually, came across the best listing in the market, and it's just like you found a pot of gold. So the key thing is when people do their research, when they actually understand the trade-offs, when they understand what's possible based on their financial situation, based on the interest rates in the market, based on the car they want to buy, the options and packages and things like that, they're more likely to make a decision faster because now they recognize that they actually have a good deal. The faster they make the decisions, the company, the business cost goes down and profits go up. And so the more informed shopper is actually a more profitable shopper. So if dealerships could actually focus on how to help consumers do their research online and be that source the dealerships go to, not just a lot of times I look at the dealership websites and I'll see they have a lot of content, but it's just keyword stuffing. Like they'll have blog posts, but those blog posts, nobody actually reads or pays attention to it. It's just, help them rank organically, but then people bounce because it's just a bunch of random keywords. They're not educating them. They're not informing them, not helping them do research or anything like that. So, what I want to talk about is what do dealerships need to do to help consumers feel confident and help them feel more informed, whether it's using video chat tools, whether it's using data or I don't know, F&I tools, but how do dealerships need to shift? And also how does that even impact their CSI scores? Because now if a consumer is now walking to the dealership to learn more about, the pros and cons of different makes, models, and finance terms, like how does a website impact the dealership CSI scores, dealership sales, dealership's F&I, average gross profit, and all that other stuff? So that was a lot.
Anybody want to respond out the gate?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Because you know what? Car shipping is the same way. I'm not trying to divert it, but it's the same thing. Information and research equals a more profitable customer, a customer that's actually going to engage in the transaction, understand what's at play, and be a better customer. And the other thing you said that I really appreciated is that a lot of information, especially blogs, it's just keyword stuffing. It's not information. It's just meant to drive you to their site, which that in that place you might get actual information, but again, it's just to drive traffic. So providing actual information and research, that is key.
Yeah, and Jay, it's interesting you said about shipping, because I was just listening to Reuters Auto Retail webinar that they had yesterday, and there was a guy from Joy Drive was on it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that company. And so he actually talked about how they learned it the hard way, how important it is to increase customers' confidence when they're thinking about buying a car online, and shipping is a really big part of it, because consumers want to know, well, if I buy a car, but what is that going to look like once I make the purchase online? How am I going to get the car? How much is it going to cost me? But then also, what's the return policy and how do I return it? And so more transparent brands, companies, dealerships are on their website and communicating to them, that's the key to digital retailing. Everybody talks about digital retailing tools, which is great, but that's just a tool you added to your website. But how is your website actually helping them feel confident about the decision they're about to make? And shipping is one of it.
Well, and that's where Carvana is a 1-2 punch from the past, because it's the digital retailing and the delivery all together in a new way. Yeah.
I think if I can chime in, there's probably a bigger hurdle for all of us is the actual mentality that a lot of dealers go in with the word transparency, which is that they feel like they're giving up control rather than gaining control. So I was reading a book recently by this guy named Josh Waitzkin called The Art of Learning. And he asked it, he's one of these like stupid prodigies, right? Where he's a grand chess master by 13 years old. He's a first Brazilian black belt in jiu-jitsu ever on the face of earth. You're like, dude, come on, like leave a little room for the rest of us. But he asked his Brazilian jiu-jitsu master, why is it that you record your sessions, your practice sessions? Every single one of them is on YouTube. So his competitors could literally look at all of his moves, understand everything he's going to do intricately. Why are you that transparent, in other words? And he said, well, as soon as my competition is watching those videos, I know they're playing my game. And I am the one that created that game. And I'm the master at that game. No one's better at that game than I am. And so he knows he's going to win because they've subjected themselves to playing that game. And I think when a dealer thinks of transparency, they actually think, oh man, I'm giving out the playbook, but you're not giving out the playbook, you're giving out the rule book. So whoever prescribes to play by your rules is therefore playing your game, and you should win that game. Carvana, to me, is doing a really good job of saying, here's the rule. You want to buy a car in the traditional way? We're not going to play with you. You're not qualified to play the game. And then since they limit the market to just people that want to play the online buying game, they're insanely successful. I think the hurdle is that with most dealers, you can't play just the online game. You have to play both games. You have to play every single customer because their market size isn't the whole nation. It's, their local economy.
Do you think that Carvana's market is the price-driven buyer, or is it a different buyer?
I actually don't think it's a price-driven buyer at all. I was listening to a YouTube video. There's this guy who bought a car from Carvana, and he created this 1-hour-long video going into very specific details about what was the experience like buying a car on Carvana, but also why. And what he said is, from the very beginning, he said, you know what? He's like, I was looking for this one very specific truck. It was a Ford truck, but he was looking for a very specific trim options, packages, and things like that. And he's like, every time he looked locally, he couldn't find one. But every time he looked on Carvana, they always had 2 or 3 of those. So then he's like, okay, he's like, I just decided to pull the trigger and just do it. And he's like, but I want to see what the experience would be like. So this guy did not buy from Carvana because it was the lowest price. He bought us because he was looking for one of a kind inventory. And this is actually an opportunity for dealerships not to be local specific, but actually be nationwide companies, like being Carvana overnight or being Vroom overnight, is by now actually making it easier for people to want to buy and ship cars nationwide. It's opening up the whole market.
Raymond, do you think that business model is gonna intensify now that we have COVID here and people's behavior has already changed, will continue to change, and maybe has a lasting impact?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the post-COVID world, it has changed. There's this guy here, I wrote his quote because I love this quote. He talks about, I think he was from IBM, and he said that they always talk about how the last best experience consumer received in any industry becomes their standard going forward for any industry. And so what happened, with the COVID, like now that people are, ordering groceries online, which they were able to do it before, but now more people have done it. So now that they've experienced the post-COVID world, what happens is people are going to be expecting now, I should be able to go buy a car online. I should be able to get the information about the car. I should be able to get free shipping or home delivery or whatever it is, or be able to return the car. I think the future of car buying has changed.
I have a question that came in, and I want to direct this to Lauren, actually, because when Ben was talking about engaging the shopper, you're with Riot of Orange. Great name. Love the name. Love to know the story behind that if you want to share that. And when you respond here, go ahead and take a minute to let everyone know what Riot of Orange does. But because you work with dealers on engaging customers through content, I'd love to just get your input on what you see, because we can talk hypothetically, but you're in there and you see it. So I'd love to hear you respond to that.
Absolutely. Do you want to know the story first, or?
Yeah, give us a story. Riot of Orange. I mean, come on, you don't see a company name like that everywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. I'll give you the quick 30-second scoop. So when I started this company 8.5 years ago, I needed a name. I didn't necessarily want to be Lauren Bernstein Incorporated or Lauren Bernstein Consulting. So I was thinking of a name. And about 5 years before that, I went to Laguna Beach, which is one of my favorite places in the world. And up on a hill, there's an area called Top of the World. And if any of you have been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's up above the beach on a hill. It's very quiet, very serene, very beautiful. And on this trip, I brought my mom. We were taking a walk and walking through the beauty of Top of the World. And all of a sudden, we saw lots of flowers. And just a quick step back. So my parents are from Zimbabwe, and it was a British colony when it was Rhodesia. And so they have British accents. So that's important here. So we're walking around on Top of the World, and all of a sudden my mom says, "Oh my goodness, it's a riot of orange." No idea what she was talking about. She's an avid reader. So am I, but a riot of orange, what does she mean? So one of the definitions of riot is brilliant display. And at the time, I wrote it down in my little notepad on my phone. And I thought, maybe one day I'll have a band. That's a really cool name for a band, Riot of Orange. So fast forward to when I started my company and I was looking for a name. I went back to that Riot of Orange. We all know what it's like to come up with a name. And 8 years ago, it was easier to find a domain name than it is now. But I looked again at Riot, brilliant display, and I looked at Orange, and Orange represents some really cool things like success, determination, and positivity. And I thought, these are the types of clients I want to attract. These are the dealers I want to work with. People are on the same page and have that same energetic field. So I thought that's a perfect name for it. So
brilliant.
Right, it became
Brilliant display. I like that. I just put that in the chat. Yeah. Well, that's very cool. And I could see how, it's like something so random. And then you looked into it and now you have your company name. Yeah. So go ahead and tell us what you see and maybe also what's different. Give us some contrast from pre-pandemic to right now. as far as online engagement goes?
So people are spending more time online. So one of the things we do at Riot of Orange, we create social media engagement for dealerships online. So we use social media in a way that none of the big companies use it, just because we take a really high touch approach. So we create conversations online through the main social media channels. We create like a lot of brand loyalty online. So people are online typically pretty often. You know, we're all addicted to our phones. We're addicted to kind of checking in on social media, what's going on, and also posts we've posted, you know, that whole thing where you go and you look to see how many people have liked your post. So there's a lot of psychology behind social media and social media engagement. So people are typically online probably too much, right? And now they're online even more. So people are working from home. They're missing that connection, that human to human contact we all need as humans. And so as a result, they're going online a lot more. So actually, and it's really neat. Actually, it's a great opportunity now to connect online. I think we're really lucky to have the social media technology right now during this pandemic. It's a great way to kind of break down the barrier with celebrities that are doing, like musicians are doing like these free concerts in their kitchens. I mean, it's a really intimate time. It's really neat. So I think as a result, people don't want to miss anything. So they're online. They want to keep up with the news. They want to see what's going on. And actually, this is a really great opportunity for dealerships to be online and to be creating those relationships with their customers. Of course, you know, business in general has gone down, but this pandemic's not going to last forever. And it's a really great opportunity to relationship build right now and just inform their customers, and not in an annoying way, but just like in a really natural, engaged way. And one thing I have noticed, so many dealerships have websites that are not great. It's not a great experience, and people now are spending time online. And if there are shoppers, right? Even if you're not allowed to technically buy interstate right now, you know, unless you meet some of the requirements, like people are shopping. You know, people are looking, people are perusing, they're getting their information. And I'm shocked. I look at the dealerships I work with and just the dealerships out there, and most of the options out there they're just not up to par.
This is a great time to be shopping and researching, because like you said, I think a lot of people that might have been on the brink of buying, that might go on pause, but they can still be in shopping mode. And that's why it's kind of why I wanted to continue this message that Lyman really kickstarted, is that we need to be where the customer is. We have Adam on the live feed, and he pretty much said that many dealers want to control the process. And the problem is that consumers have changed and they don't want to play those games. And the pandemic has forced most businesses to adapt and play by the consumer's rules. And I'm seeing that a lot. When I look back at conversations leading up to March and, you know, February and March, it was always get them in the showroom, get them in the showroom. And now that's like out of the rules now. So it's forced everything to change. Ben, did you want to chime in or no? I think you said.
I mean, I'm always good to chime in. And I want to clarify, just because you were saying, or Adam, that, you know, we have to play by the customer's rules. I would disagree. I think we still get to set a lot of the rules ourselves. I think there is obviously a time to rewrite the rules that you're going to be using, but you still get to control the price. You still get to control the process. It's still your vehicle before it's their vehicle. So no, I don't think you say like, let me just completely, that's the definition or difference between saying here, customer has complete control versus acknowledging, actually, I have complete control, but, you know, I might be saying no to certain segments of the market.
Dealers have a rule book that they have to play by, which is mandated by franchise laws and state laws, right? So they have a rule book that's non-negotiable for them. And obviously that trickles down to the consumer side. Sticking with the theme of engagement, if I could, Chad, I'd love to turn to you. Give us a quick overview of QuickPage for viewers that might not be familiar with QuickPage, and talk to us, kind of build on what Lauren was saying, because I mean, that's what you're doing with dealers, is helping them engage their customers with video specifically.
Yeah, so QuickPage is the quickest, most effective closing tool in automotive, and actually one of the fastest growing video follow-up solutions in the industry. And there is definitely just this vacuum for like everyone's been talking about, transparency, authenticity, and video and engagement, right? Well, video is the ultimate pattern interrupt in a world where inboxes are full of the same style of emails, voicemails that don't get listened to. Video just kind of sneaks its way in there as the ultimate way to stand out from your competitors, grab attention, and build engagement. 93% of communications, voice inflection, and body language. It's really the only way at a distance to use your full sales and persuasion skills to earn someone's trust and do business with them. We all have heard this a million times. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. And that's where video comes in. It's the reason we're all on video now. This would be a whole different show if they were reading about it, or it was just audio, but it makes it that much more engaging when they can see you. They can see your personality, your convictions, your confidence, your personality, all comes out through video. And there is a mass movement going towards video. And I believe in a short time, you won't be able to compete without video, especially with tools like ours that make it really easy to do so. I went into Best Buy the other day to get a new microphone, and the place was like cleared out with all the video equipment. People are being forced to overcome their fears and get on video. And dealerships are realizing now that it's far more effective to get someone to do business with you if you can present yourself on video. It actually cuts the follow-up time down by about 50%, because that's usually the holdup. How do you choose from all the, you're shopping around, you have an inbox full of salespeople reaching back out to you, or voicemails. How do you choose? Well, this is an easy way to stand out and earn their trust and get them into the showroom eventually. But when they do show up, they feel like they know you in a weird way. So video is where it's at. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree. We're a company with about 300 people at Automotive Mastermind, and for the last 8 years, we've been communicating just like this with Zoom or other good chatting apps or interactive tools. One of the things we just changed for our dealer partners, we work with about 2,000 dealer partners across the country to help them identify their customers that they should contact, and then communicate with them to ultimately close a sale. And a lot of what you guys have been talking about is transparency. And I've always been a believer that you need to provide transparency in order to get something back from the consumer, right? You can't just ask questions and not give anything back. So providing transparency is a big part of what Automotive Mastermind does. We take all that information that we collect about the consumer, and then we present them with an offer on behalf of the dealership that is highly relevant. It fosters a very intelligent conversation. And one of the things, that's why I like what Chet just said here, that was really important, is we pivoted a little bit, or we added here in the last 3 weeks to include video messaging into our technology. And Chet, I wish we would have met a little earlier, because we should definitely also integrate with your platform. But it allows the sales consultant now to take all the information that the client desperately needs and present it not only via text or via a phone call, but also via a video that ultimately will help them build that relationship and help them close a sale. So I totally agree with everything that was said here about transparency, and also the way consumers expect to be communicated with. So it's very, very, very good chat here.
Yeah, I just want to add on to, I think one of the fears that dealers have is like quality. But if you think about, if you've watched mainstream media, just like in the last, I don't know, probably 3 weeks, Uber, Apple, Zoom, right, have all made it live on giant national television ads with potato camera quality ads, literally using Zoom, literally using the iPhone, literally using whatever. And so like, it's no longer, I mean, think about how many viral videos there have been that have not been professionally produced. Probably 99% of them, right? There's only a few that have virally gone and done really well, but have actually come from, you know, a red cam or something really high end. So I think there's something to this where it doesn't matter like how good, if this is 1080p, this is 4K, what the production quality is. It just matters that there's content that you can feel it and that you do it.
It comes up a lot. There is a time and a place for commercial grade content and for just natural content. The content itself is what matters most. The delivery would come secondary. The best delivery in the world doesn't make up for, for uninteresting information, if you will. So that is a good point.
I think the point that Ben just made is an important one, right? Like, if Chet gives every dealership in the country his product, it's going to be very, very hard for a lot of dealerships personnel to feel comfortable on camera, right? He has one of the best technologies there is to record or send a quick video. How do you personally get comfortable to send a video that makes sense, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, it has to be authentic. It has to convey a good message, has to get good content. The question is, how do you train a dealer, or how do you help dealerships to communicate with their customers, be it via phone or be it via email, or in this case, via video?
It's the same. It's sales. It's sales, right? The main thing is just getting people to get out of their own head and stop that little person in there from filtering every single word. That's it, really. Video is the best self-help tool in the world if you let it be. You know, you can review your videos, you can watch where you can learn to communicate better, maybe stop saying or what. You can keep getting better and work on your sales skills. But at the end of the day, like, if you're a crappy salesperson, you're crappy. I mean, you're going to stick out. I think you're still going to have a better odds of making a deal with video over the guy that doesn't use video. But I think it just comes down to like your sales abilities, and video is going to make everybody's game have to go up to the next level.
Yeah, I think Ryan was saying something that interesting too. So like the time and the place moment, it would be really awkward if I did a Zoom meeting, which I do with my mom every Wednesday at 7:00, right?
Noted.
Who's in California. If I did a Zoom meeting that was professionally shot, it would actually come off as inauthentic, right? She'd be like, why is the lighting so good? Why, like, this doesn't make any sense. And I think actually to a customer, it would come off as inauthentic too. If you were trying to communicate back and forth between video, and it was perfect, it was shot on 4K, it was really well produced. You had I think that would actually backfire to you, and they'd go, this looks too plastic. The veneer on this looks too clean. I want to feel like this is real.
Yeah.
And so I think there's actually authenticity in the medium that you use.
Let's do this. We're a half hour in. I want to do a quick reorientation for attendees and live viewers, and then I want to segue into the COVID-19 resource that Automotive Mastermind has. But I'm going to summarize the key takeaway here, because the premise of that segment was what are specific ways that dealers right now can meet the customer where we think they want to be met, because where we think they want to be met is a subjective idea, right? So it's a guessing game of where they want to be met, because not every customer is the same. And the takeaway here is that, for obvious reasons, video can be an effective tool for that. And authenticity is key to that process. Find a way to authentically produce video related content and get it delivered, to the customer base. There's like I said, a time and a place for commercial grade and just good natural content. Let me share my screen. Again, folks, you're here on the Automotive Consumer Mastermind panel discussion. This is a live streaming webcast. We do one of these. This is one of 6 different auto retail marketing webcast programs that we run moving forward after today on Tuesdays only. There used to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're going to Tuesdays at 2:00 Central. If you'd like to be here on the Zoom with us as an attendee, where you can raise your hand and ask questions or participate in the Q&A, look for a link to the sign-up form to this page, and you can register and immediately receive access to the Zoom throughout this conversation. And once you do that, you're always registered with the Automotive Consumer Experience that you don't have to re-register each time that we do this. This is recorded, and then it's featured on the AutoConverse podcast as well, which again is a whole different experience. If you're into listening to podcasts, do yourself a favor and get subscribed today to the AutoConverse podcast. I'm going to move to automotivemastermind.com. We have co-founder and CEO Marco Schnabel. Sorry, Marco. Is it Schnabel or
Very
Schnabel?
Good. That was better. That was better than my own mom says it.
Okay,
So
good. This is the new resource center. I think a lot of automotive vendors have started building a COVID-19 resource center like this. This one's pretty comprehensive. So I'm going to keep my screen shared. Marco, just tell me where you want me to go, and let's spend a few minutes looking at the information in here.
Yeah, maybe just stay there for a second just to give the audience and the viewers here an overview, Ryan. But first of all, I appreciate even having a chance to talk about this. This was born out of necessity. We are, as I said earlier, we're a technology company, so we provide behavior prediction technology to the auto industry, specifically to car dealerships. We work with roughly 2,000 dealers through the United States, and we help them identify, communicate with, and close their perfect customer audience. And one of the things we learned here quickly, as this pandemic was evolving, and was evolving not only on a daily or weekly basis, it was evolving hourly, we had to change the way we were helping our dealer partners rapidly. And we thought, what can we do? We have 300 plus masterminds in the company, and we quickly huddled and brainstormed and thought about all the different things that dealers likely will need, related or unrelated to our service offerings. So we thought about, hey, if a dealership is out there that needs to get shut down, what should they be thinking of? So you have your cursor right over there, our 36-point checklist that we provided to our dealer partners, and quite frankly, to the entire industry. This is nothing we want to use to generate revenues. This is simply something we want to do to help the industry we live in, the ecosystem we all are part of and we all rely on. So this checklist will, for example, provide a dealer that is in shutdown mode all of the different ideas you need to think about, not just locking the door, but also what do you need to do with contracts in transit? What do you need to do with loans that need to be paid? What do you need to do with your employees? So we have provided this list, and we're now working on a startup list again. So we'll have something very similar to provide to our dealer partners and to the industry, helping them think about how to bring their business back to life, not just from a sales perspective, but just from an overall operational perspective. And this list spread like wildfire. We had no idea, but it got picked up by a lot of news outlets and different channels, and it just got us a lot of attention here that we're very grateful for. And we continue to do that. We have a large field force that not only sells our product, but also provides service for our product. So we call it our dealer relations team. Between our sales and dealer relations team, we have about 170 masterminds through the United States. And we thought, okay, what should we do now that there are dealerships that are simply shut down? They are not even allowed to operate their business from home. So we generated ideas to redirect our own resources to dealerships that are open or that could operate from home, helping them build a virtual dealership. Ideas around a virtual dealership. So we provided access to our technology from home. We integrated video messaging and taught dealers on how to use it effectively. We generated with our own team a BDC, a business development center. So our, we call it virtual BDC now, provides outbound call services for the dealerships that are still open at no charge. We just make calls on their behalf, driving appointment, driving sales. So we really just try to do everything we can think of and that our dealers give us feedback on, to be a great partner, to help dealers hunker down, get through this really rough time. And it started with this resource page that has just great content in there that any dealer across the country can use, regardless if they're our client or our partner or not. So the idea was born there, and then we just evolved it into adapting more features and functionality into our technology. as well as just providing things like the virtual BDC. Our just looking at some pictures here, Carla Nurse, who's our she's running our internal sales team, making outbound calls. She now runs our virtual BDC, and she ran a BDC for a large dealership in the country. She's an expert at doing this. Andrew Rains, our chief commercial officer, has really learned the industry well and can provide actionable information in this podcast he gave here, what dealers can do to support their customers. And it goes back to everything that our colleagues here on this panel have said around being a great partner to your consumer, providing lots of transparency, being there for them, just having a lot of empathy, right? In my mind right now, it's less about playing any type of game. It's just about being, a good human being. And is it providing some free services to your community, or is it just going the extra mile for your community? Just be a really strong partner, either if you're a vendor to your business partners, or if you're dealing B2C to your consumers and customers. And that's what we believe in. And right now we're living that very, very strong.
Thank you. Thank you, Marco. Go ahead, Lyman.
So this is actually a really good resource. 321 Ignition also actually posted free scripts and emails and copy for landing pages. We noticed that, a lot of dealerships, when COVID happened, they just rushed to their CMS tools and started creating huge banner ads that are basically screaming in red and pink and blue, whatever colors, saying home delivery, we're still open. And it just looks like a hot mess, because especially now, like what Lauren said, more people are on the internet, but a lot of them are on their smartphones because, majority of people using Facebook on their mobile devices. So when they're seeing dealerships information, they're clicking, going to their website, it looks absolutely horrible on a mobile device. And so we actually posted also in our blog, if you go 321ignition.com/selling-cars-online-coronavirus, there's actually a 60-second script that dealerships could use to record videos. There's an email copy, there's a homepage banner ad copy, there's a landing page copy, because like what I noticed, for example, one of my dealerships, he sent me an email as soon as the coronavirus happened, and he's like, I'm about to send this email to my customers. And that email was like, 4 or 5 huge paragraphs. I'm like, nobody's going to read this stuff. So I had to save him from himself. So we actually decided to come up with the creative, because, it's not just good enough to say to a dealership, you need to do this XYZ, but a lot of times they don't have the resources in-house to know how to craft it, where it's compelling, where it's succinct, where it will look good on a mobile device and things like that.
Marco, I just shared your link in the live chat, and Lyman or Cindy, if from 321, if you have the live chat, feel free to share that link as well. I have a question for you, Marco. Lyman, share it on the live chat on the live stream, because that'll be public. This is closed.
Oh, how do I do that?
You have to go to the live stream. I'll resend the link to the live stream. I was going to ask you a question, Marco. Jay, I saw your mouth running. Did you want to add something into there?
Yeah, I was unmuted. I shared Lyman's link. I just found it because that is a great resource.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna, Marco, I think what you shared is great, and many vendors have done something similar, right? NADA has put up a resource center. I know I've scrambled to try to provide new information, as it pertains to navigating through COVID-19, in my case, with dealers and with automotive vendors. But let me throw a challenge to the group.
Lyman's link. I just found it because
Let me throw a challenge to the group. None of us have ever been in a pandemic before. I'm pretty confident about that. I think the last pandemic was probably smallpox, which was eradicated. In the 40s or in the 60s. None of us have been through a pandemic before. Why do vendors, we as industry allies, what do we know? How do you get the information that you're putting together? What is it based on? Because how do we really know? I think I know this for a fact. When dealers I talk to, they are, obviously scrambling to figure out what to do, and they need resources. They definitely need resources and ideas. But what's the process, Marco, for you guys to put this information together so that it truly is authoritative and comes from experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in part, it comes from our own staff, our own team members that are industry experts that have run dealerships. And you don't need to run a dealership through a pandemic to know how to shut it down, right? You may have been down in I was just thinking about Texas, where hurricanes hit, or wildfires in the Western United States, and you might be forced to just abandon your dealership relatively quick for days or weeks or months. And there is just best practices that have been developed in those emergency situations that are very, very applicable to this scenario we work in or we live in now. We clearly I've never been in anything like this. You know, I've been in the United States during the great financial crisis here in 08, 09, and we applied we tried and applied ultimately great business practices that helped us retain our customers and keep growing. And some of that is today in our technology and in the way we go to market. So I guess we're curating between our own teams, between our dealer partners and other vendors, partners we are aligned with, a repository of information. And then with the best common sense that we can find or apply, try to decide what's relevant for dealers and what's not. Because I do agree, and Layman, you said this about throwing just stuff at customers. It's the same with throwing stuff at our dealer partners. We don't want to just overload them with BS, right? We want to give them very good, curated information that's highly relevant, that's highly impactful to them in a time where they're getting, you know, they're probably anxious. They don't know if they can pay their themselves or their teams. They don't know what legal requirements apply or don't apply to them. So we definitely don't want to create additional pain, burdens, or noise for them. We want to provide valuable information. We do it by looking back in time or looking at experiences that are similar, certainly not the same, but that are similar and therefore very applicable.
Here's a question from Lexi on the Zoom, Marco, that maybe I can let you respond to. And Lyman, you might want to chime in. She says, how are dealers, how is AI and predictive marketing impacting how dealers are cultivating leads right now during the crisis? Because I know lead volume has dropped, but there's still market out there. So
the lead volume is up, or at least from the dealerships that are on our platform, the lead volume is actually up 30%.
Across the board or on average? Everybody's up?
All the dealerships on my platform, yeah.
And speaking to Lexi's question about AI and predictive analysis, can you speak to that at all? Are there any?
I mean, we don't really use AI. I think AI is one of those things that it's a huge buzzword. I mean, let's go back to fundamental, the basics, the website. Like, what does the experience look like? What is experience like on mobile? What is experience like on desktop? You know, I know some of our competitors, they'll have like geofencing, they'll throw AI tools. Like, to me, that's just all buzzwords. At the end of the day, you know, who cares if you have a geofencing? Some of my competitors charge like additional $200 per month at dealership. I was just looking at it yesterday, and I'm like, that's just a way for them to generate more revenue. But how is this, you know, geofencing and AI actually helping them? Like, you know, how are you using it to personalize the message? Like, I mean, AI maybe for bots, you know, like live chat bots is helpful, but it really, I think it's just a buzzword. But if you give customers a good experience that's frictionless, that helps them increase confidence, your dealership brand impression, people only take 5 seconds to establish impression of your brand. And as soon as they land on your website, if it looks like somebody straight out of high school designed it, they're going to bounce. They're not going to trust to buy a car from you online, sight unseen. So we don't really use AI. I mean, there's of course analytics tools that have AI. We have heat maps and things like that have AI, but really AI is just a buzzword.
Well, AI itself is real. It's how it's used can be used like a buzzword. Jay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't have an answer for AI, but car shipping is where geofencing really shines, because you want to know when the car has entered or exited an area. And so, yeah, I mean, when you're talking geofencing, logistics, and travel and movement, that's where it really plays a big part.
Yeah. And I mean, we do integrate with the Ship Your Car Now, which we integrate with our API to provide 100% accurate, guaranteed estimate shipping quotes, which, they use a lot of data points and big data and, maybe put AI in it. But again, to me, that's table stakes. To me, if I go on Amazon website and I'm looking for cost for shipping or estimated delivery, I'm not thinking, is it powered by AI? I'm thinking about it like, I expect it to be 100% guaranteed and accurate. So,
right. It's not going to sell the car, but it's going to help with the peace of mind after the fact. You want to know that
maybe,
the rate's accurate and that where your car is.
Ryan, maybe just a quick anecdote that I thought was interesting. So with making some of these outbound calls for the dealerships, we end up now speaking directly on the phone to consumers. And I thought it was interesting that the feedback we've been getting is that customers are very receptive to having a conversation. They're open-minded, they are shopping, right? They're going online, they're trying to get more information. It seems like with people being at home and being less mobile and having less time for sporting events or social events, they are a bit more open to receiving whatever information seems relevant for them, and they have more time to study it. We have, anecdotes from customers staying on the phone with us for 30 or 45 minutes, not because we're just trying this out, right, with this virtual BDC, but people want to talk, they want to have a social engagement when they hear from their own dealership, right? It seems that people like to talk to people, and that's the good thing. So I share that little anecdote.
No, I appreciate that. And Lyman, I mean, as Marco said, that's probably why you're seeing an uptick, is because people have a little bit less to do. So they might as well do something that was on their mind, which is
or
more
my
research.
hypothesis is with the COVID, because I mean, not to, burst my own little bubble, but we do have the best website platform. And so I think what's happening right now with our dealerships that are on our platform is that, when before COVID, all the dealerships were open, their competition was every dealership because consumers were able to drive around and look at the cars. But now with COVID and people are stuck at home because the websites are so bad, dealerships that are actually on our platform are actually seeing more traffic, more leads, because people could actually get through it and be able to actually, inquire, learn more about the cars and things like that. So I think actually dealerships that are on a good website, they have a huge competitive advantage right now because they have less competition than during COVID.
But they would have had that competitive edge no matter what the situation is with your web presence, I would think.
Okay, so here's an example. There's this one local dealership here in Tacoma. They signed up with their service right before COVID. And as soon as COVID happened, we're about to go live. And they called me up frantically saying, can we please cancel the contract? We had to lay off everyone. And he's like, just me and my dad. And it's a small dealership. They only sell about 40 cars, 30 cars per month. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I'd rather you guys stay in business because it doesn't do us any good if dealerships go out of business right now. I'm like, we already built the site. Let's go live and I'll give it to you guys free for 4 months because I want you guys to stay in business. And he's like, Lyman, we haven't sold anything in 2 weeks. Soon as they went live with us, within 2 days, they got 2 car sales. Prior to us, they couldn't sell a single car in 2 weeks. So I do think that if you have a good website, it gives you before COVID, they were able to sell some cars because at least, they had a good location, people would drive by, but you should have seen the site, before they switched to our platform. Like if you don't have a good website, you are missing out on a lot of sales right now. I mean, if I wish I could have took a screenshots before and after, you guys, we should have seen what the website looks like. People were just bouncing. They had 60% bounce rates. So like imagine 6 out of 10 people that ever went to their website were just leaving immediately just because how horrible the website was. So if you do have a good website, I do think you have a huge leg up on your competition right now.
Kimberly on the Zoom says that she's with 50 State DMV. You know Kimberly.
Yeah.
She says they're seeing a massive increase in online cross-state lines sales. Oops, it just went away since the COVID virus has shut off. I'm going to put the link to the live feed back in here, even though we're going to start winding down. If you're on YouTube, please post comments on the live chat so that the other people can see them as well. Okay. Please post comments. Here we go to live stream. Sorry, guys. Lauren, I like your question. This has come up in past conversations. You put it in there earlier, which is how will this time make dealerships and industry allies stronger? Back in March, when this kind of really started hitting, that was the theme of one of our conversations. And my observation from the panelists was there's going to be a lot of same old, a lot of guarding and gating and protectionism within the industry. There is that, but then there is a collaborative force. Everybody here, in my opinion, is in a kind of a collaborative mentality, right? Share the information, get the ideas flowing, learn and contribute. So I like that question. Do you want to elaborate on that, or do you want to just throw that question out to
Lauren, before you answer, everybody, I got a split. I tried to connect with all of you guys somewhere on the internet, but I got to bail for my one. Appreciate all of you guys.
Thanks,
smart
Chad.
people, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Chad. We'll see you soon.
Guys, I have to unfortunately follow as well. Lauren, I apologize for interrupting you. Thanks for having me. Hope to see you guys again. I also connected with all of you, so
all right, Marco.
it.
Thanks, Marco.
Thanks for being here, Marco,
Thanks
and
all.
to Mallory for lining that up. Thank you.
Me too, Lauren. I'm so sorry. I got to jump. I have a meeting at 1:00.
Usually
happens. That was
it
fun.
usually happens at the top of the hour. So you got to go, Lyman? Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Lyman, for helping line this up.
You're welcome. Bye.
And Lyman had invited you, Lauren, and you guys have a little history. Lyman also invited Chad. So, but Ben and I don't know why'd we cross paths recently? Something reconnected us for some reason. You had shared that Google mobility report.
Oh, you're right.
Said, come on and share that. And from talking, I said, why don't you get up here? So, so glad to have you here. And folks on the attendee side, again, feel free to stay on. If you want your mics on, raise your hand. I can turn your microphone on. And I'll be here till everyone's gone. But Lauren, I'd love to hear your thoughts behind the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question I wanted to pose to all the panelists, but my question is, how will this time make dealerships and industry allies stronger? I think we have a real opportunity right now. I think in general, people tend to take things for granted. We just it's a human condition. We just assume that everything's going to be fine and, we can make plans. But something like this pandemic is making us realize all we really have is the moment. And so I think actually it's kind of shifted a consciousness of how everyone's thinking about life. Because all we really have, we have to think about surviving and staying healthy for today. I think it's also a really great opportunity to look at our businesses and look at the dealerships we serve and we work with, and kind of come up with a strategy to say how, what if we have another pandemic, or what if this pandemic goes on for a while? How can we become stronger, and what can we learn from this so we're not blindsided next time? I think I've noticed some really cool things come out of this so far. Of course, there's terrible things and hardships and all the bad stuff. I'll focus on the positives, but I think this has become a really interesting time to realize how important it is to connect with people. And that's why talking about video, I think people are becoming more comfortable on video, because it's our way to see another human and be face to face through a device. So I think it's really helping us realize the importance of the human connection and how important that is.
Well, we took it. I would almost say it's easy to take that for granted, and then when it's taken away from you, you realize that you probably took it for granted. Video, while it's an alternative for voice fluctuations, eye contact, and body language, it is not the real replacement. I mean, you cannot survive on video alone. We still need that human interaction, but it is the closest thing. And actually, from what I understand, studies suggest that video communication is actually more draining And I would actually, and I'll get a little, my physicist will come out here. You can't actually exchange energy through video. It's not a human transmission of energy. Whereas when you're in person, just being in the same presence, you can exchange energy. And you don't get that in video. Video actually drains you. And there are people, you know, Jay and myself, our lives are on video. And Jay, I'm sure you can attest to this. When I get done with a session like this, whether it's 30 minutes or 3 hours, I am mentally exhausted. I typically have to go for a walk or meditate because it's exhausting. That, you know, whereas sitting and talking with someone for 20 minutes is less exhausting. Going to a conference for 2 or 3 days is exhausting.
Yeah.
I wanted to add, Lauren, and let you chime in, Jay, but Lauren, I wanted to add what I believe has probably happened for professionals. All right. People in business, definitely, but probably maybe everybody from this crisis. Is it kind of like made the world smaller and allowed you to really get some clarity and focus on what you have to do? Like you said, it's like, what do you have to do now? I used to always talk about what do dealerships need to be thinking, 2 to 3 years from now? And now it's like, oh, I'm not worried about 2 or 3 years. What do I have to do right now to get through this, that level of clarity?
And I have oh, sorry.
No, because I did want to like jump into what your original premise, which is like bringing people together, right? I mean, we were talking a little bit about digital retail, a little bit about website, a little bit about marketing. And I did want to highlight that to me, if we believe that the facilitation of a sale is going to happen online, that means that naturally about 6 or 7 different companies have to work together. So if we really are trying to encourage these dealers to work and to like be able to still stay in business, it means that like Route 1 and Dealer Track have to work together with Trade Pending or Kelley Blue Book or Edmunds for trade-in, which have to work with 321 Ignition, which have to work. You're right. Like if you're saying, hey, when I go into a dealership, I'm interacting with like 6 different platforms. If those 6 different platforms aren't naturally integrated online, like we're championing right now, then why are we championing it? So I think there's a contradiction there, or it's definitely going to happen because out of necessity, we have to start these partnerships. We have to start data integration. We have to start working with our competition because that's the only way that this new facilitation will happen. So I just wanted to make sure that original question got some sort of answer from someone. Yeah.
I mean, we're forced to collaborate. I like Katie Jackson Richter from Cuneo in a panel last month had said, we're dealers, speaking as from a vendor standpoint, dealers are paying us to provide a service, and if we have to collaborate with other companies to deliver on that, that's what we should be expected to do. Lauren, I know you're going to respond right before Ben. Do you remember what your thought was?
I was just going to say, I think I had a quick story, but I think this time is also forcing everybody to kind of do the things that they've been meaning to do. And just really quickly, I was chatting with getting food is really important, and getting fresh food. And we have online delivery groceries, and there are local farms who are really suffering, especially here in Washington, because most of the farmers markets are closed. I think they're maybe opening up one soon. So I chatted with the company, so I ended up ordering some online, ordering some produce to come on a weekly basis to ensure that we have some fresh produce. But I was chatting with one of the companies, so I was really curious about, how they got online so quickly. And the owner of this company, who kind of brought a bunch of farmers together to create these like weekly subscriptions, this is something he's been wanting to do. He's like, I've been wanting to do this for like a couple of years. He put a website together in one day with an online shop and pulled in all these farmers, and he did that in one day. Wow. So I think that if we apply it to our business, and what dealerships are doing and how they're kind of adjusting or pivoting, it's really looking at what's on our wish list. What are the things that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and what can we do now to help our business and to help our customers and to help our community, help our employees.
Yeah. Yeah, your allotment of time has been altered because there's certain things you can't do. I was saying this is a great time for dealers right now to be cleaning up their CRM systems, getting their websites spruced up, right? Getting people trained in a different way. Like there's so many things they could be doing that gets neglected in the day to day. Jay, we're going to wrap it up. I love if you want to provide some contrast or some color before you head out, you're welcome to.
Well, thank you. I just was going to say that I have said for many episodes, I go live every Tuesday night. My Tuesday night just the other night was episode 133 in a row. And what I say is that, you've got to innovate and adapt. You have to at some point. Your business has to. And I'm talking to car shippers. I'm talking to car haulers. And that's a tough audience as far as coming to adaptation and change.
Sure.
And I know it's easy to say things. It's running a truck is that's a lot of work. But the way you get customers, you've got to look ahead, adapt, and change. Especially if you're spending a bulk of your time complaining about rates or whatever's going on in the marketplace, that is a signal. A very strong signal that you need to do things a little bit differently. And this applies to dealers that for months they knew about the digital retailing solution and they said, well, it's pretty neat. I don't know. Well, for everybody now, this is the time. We've just been all handed a big change statement. This is the time you have to adapt, change, innovate, improve your business model. You really don't have a choice. And luckily, the government in its way has responded and said, we know this is going to be tough. We want to help out a little bit. So everyone has their hands full. All the kids are home and you've got to get the financial help and extend your mortgage and all these things. But ultimately, I think later on, we will nostalgize this time in its own way that, wow, look at all that change that happened so fast. And we set some new things in motion. And, I really do believe that in a year, we'll look back and go, wow, that was really hard, but wow, it kind of helped.
Did you say nostalgize? Is that an actual word?
I don't know. I make up words all the time.
Never heard that, but I mean, I got what you're saying.
But that's what's so interesting about, I've noticed in my own life, I've been able to nostalgize many periods of time later on that at the time were terrible. That was really hard. And then, 10 years later with a glass of wine, I'm like, wow, that was incredible. It's going to happen again. We're going to go, wow, do you remember April 2020 when we couldn't even see each other and I couldn't go to the farmer's market? And when you raise that, just Lauren, just think about that. I mean, I love going to the farmer's market when I go, but I love that experience. And really, you can't have that now. There's so many things you can't have right now. And so that it's a delicate flower of appreciation. So
yeah. It's also an equalizer. We can all relate to this moment.
Right.
Yeah. And I like what you said.
Where were you when?
Yeah. And Ben, I like what you said about quality of it. That would be amazing. In fact, I really want to overproduce a Zoom meeting with my mom now. Like that would be instead like a 3-camera shot. And she's like, where are you now?
Changing angle.
That's a brilliant idea.
That's a good idea for a fun skit to do. Yeah. Like 3 cameras so you can talk to your mom on
fact,
Zoom.
Here's the twist. She's got the 3-camera angle.
Yeah.
And you're like, where are you, Mom? And she's like in Tahiti.
Right.
And then
she's schooling you.
Yeah.
That's a good project. Well, listen, let's wrap it up. I know we've been on here a while. Lauren, great to have you up here. Get christened here on the Auto Conversion webcast. You too, Ben. I'm glad you were able to make it and hope you guys enjoyed your time. And like I said, Jay and I are kind of regulars here. So I appreciate every moment of Jay's time I can get. I appreciate it, Jay.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
And for those on the Zoom, I'm going to go ahead and wind down. You guys can leave if you want. You don't have to wait for me. If you want to talk with me afterwards and just hang tight, I'm going to go ahead and wind down the live feed here. So,
awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice meeting you guys.
Nice meeting you too.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right, everybody. So there you go. The Automotive Consumer Experience Mastermind discussion. Again, this is one of 6 different auto retail marketing related webcasts that we do. And if you look here on autoconversion.net, This page I'm on is under masterminds, by the way. Look at the calendar. After today, they're all going to be on Tuesdays. So next week we have social selling in auto retail. That's for auto sales professionals. And we'll be looking at a brand new training program for auto sales professionals by Terry Lancaster called the Auto Sales Showdown. The Showdown, yeah. And then I have a special guest coming on from a company called StorySoft to be looking at a new kind of inventive way for retailers to tell a story online digitally. That's what's happening next week. On the B2B side, on Monday, I have my B2B marketing and sales hacks program. If you want to learn more about how we do what we do and why we do and what it looks like and how it can benefit you as an automotive vendor, as a B2B marketing professional in the automotive space, that is a good webinar to hop in on. And you can come tell me your story as well. Show me how you're doing things on the B2B level. And then Wednesday of next week is the last mobility tech and connectivity show for the month, because I'm taking a week off after that. And I have Alan Cooper and Graham Line coming on from PIM Insights. And then we'll have our mobility mastermind. I'm Ryan Girardi. Thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the Auto Converse podcast if you haven't already on your favorite podcasting app. And let me know how I can be of assistance. If you're on any of our properties, whether it's autoconversion.net or autoconverse.com, wherever, use the live chat feature if you want instant access to moi. I'm going to go ahead and shut things down. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you.